Today is January 27th, 2025, and today we're going to be meeting the beings live, beginning today in this new process. As some of you know who may be following, we recently had an event happen where it was discovered that someone was out there sharing my work as though it were theirs, and so we are no longer going to be able to share the beings in the photo format. As of today, we're going to be sharing them in a video format only, and this is day one. We're going to start from scratch, going back to the very beginning, and introduce the beings to you one by one, sometimes, as today, in family groups. And as I introduce the beings to you, I will share everything I've come to see or know about the beings, who they are, how they connect, how they come through the crystal. And so let's see, today we're going to be starting, I think this is one. This is just an example for those of you new to this work. This is a small sampling of examples of the transmissions that are coming through the crystal. A small handful of perhaps 500, 600, 700 of the beings who have come through so far to date. I will be focusing on the ones that I'm able to render the most clearly, and those who I feel the strongest connection with, those I receive the most information on, those who are connecting with me the most clearly, the most obviously in expanded states, and I will be sharing the experiences I have had with them in the wider reality with you as this series goes on. So today we're going to start with Quinn. Quinn is the being who, when he first began coming through the most repeatedly. So we have many, 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 many frames of Quinn. Now, this is a blown up version of the actual frame. He came through, and this is the frame in its entirety. This is one of the rare frames that I was able to capture in full. I will say here now that it takes enormous effort to catch the being in full. When the beings come through the crystal, well, let me say there's one enormous structure. That structure fractals down into just endless faces upon faces upon faces. All of the faces connect. They all overlap. They all even share the identical space. So you do have to have, when you go into the crystal, a sort of 6D awareness or ability to see in a way that you can see everything, even though there's no space or no distance between one being and another being, one thing and another thing. The idea is to get the beings to disperse by my own focus of attention, and I simply give the area in which I am the most interested my attention, and the rest will begin to disperse a bit like clouds. And ideally, I can get in there with my focus to where I can capture at least 2/3 of the being's face. They always come through, or maybe there's one or two examples of when they came in face front, but most examples, the way they come through the most is the way you see here, at an angle in partial profile. And Quinn, I just feel like he's one of the beings who is the most connected to me, the one most connecting with me here in this life. It's why he comes through a lot. It's why I can capture him so clearly. It's why whenever I go into the crystal, he's almost always going to be there in some way, shape, or form. The beings do all connect. And I mean this in a physical sense as well. So if we were going to draw out this singular structure of it fractaling down into this infinite number of faces, all of the faces would be connected at a certain point and to a certain being, and at or from a particular angle. And Quinn comes down, or he comes through down beneath, I'm going to say a parent figure whose name is Shun, like ocean without the O. And I will show him to you in just a moment. I myself come through from a similar place within the crystal, as does Shun. Scenes have opened out wherein I see myself in particular lifetimes within that same area of the crystal. Let's see. Quinn has contacted me in the out-of-body state. He has many forms. We'll see a few of those here today. The form in which he connected with me in this experience, he appeared more elven. He did have elven type ears and appeared very similar to what you see here. However, the skin was a very light olive green and the hair so jet black it glistened blue. Seeing him in that experience near broke me. The sadness was overwhelming. The just even glint or hint of remembering just almost broke me. Devastating sadness that you experience with the loss of someone, or being further away from them than you would care. And that's the feeling that rose up in me in this experience. Excuse me, it was an interesting experience. I was simply standing in the kitchen of an apartment that was mostly empty. I was going through the drawers, and when I all of a sudden looked up and looked out of an open airspace between the kitchen and the living room, and the living room was a large screen TV, and in the blackness of that large screen TV, he was there and observing me. And I just caught it for a moment, long enough to feel the pain of loss, the sadness at being so far away from him. And that emotion, that extreme emotion, was enough to dissolve the rest of the experience. But many of the beings contact me in the out-of-body state. It's where I first meet them, and then they'll begin coming through the crystal. Others of the beings come through because I'm doing rendering requests for others, and all of the beings who come through are me in a sense, beings associated with my template. However, there'll be a place within that template wherein I connect with the person who's requesting the rendering, and their being can come through, or data pertaining to their being can come through. So that's sort of interesting at this point, the wide array of beings that have come through. So yes, this was Quinn, and here again is the more blown up version of him. However, let me show this first, because you all know that I do mirror the beings to face front for eye-to-eye contact. This is Quinn mirrored to face front. You can see not a lot is lost in the translation, but some will be, of course. But with this type of frame, you're able to do a talk with the being and do an eye-gazing discipline, wherein you will be, if you are apt, able to connect and communicate, have direct contact with extraterrestrial beings. So this is the reason why we face them front in this way. Now, Quinn has come through in slightly different forms as well. Khan is one such being. And all the names, when associated with Quinn, will start with this cut sound, or something similar, something, a take that comes off of it. So yes, an indigenous lifetime, clearly from another planet here, but also the being I know is Quinn. Shen, I went to Sean, but let me show you Shen, the father figure who rests above where Quinn comes through, is here. We'll introduce him probably separately on his own at some point down the line as well. But this is actually the father figure that the whole family we're going to see here today comes through, including Quinn. So again, his name is Shun, and it sounds like ocean without the O. And the beings come through more than once, of course. This is just another day in the crystal where we got another kind of rendering of Shun. And here you can see he's much younger, and his species connection with Quinn is more apparent in this particular frame. But clearly to me, when I gaze into this frame, we're seeing a warrior, somebody who walked that path. We have many others of these as well. It's just these are the only two I brought of Shun today. Now, there are children who come through as well. Interestingly enough, both brown-eyed and blue-eyed. We're going to see two of those here now. This is Arya. And Arya came through in a rendering request for a very dear soul connected with us at the forum board. He does a lot of requests for renderings, and those who do request renderings do so on our forum board. You just come there and introduce yourself in the introductions area. Just nestle right on in there, and when you're comfortable, request a rendering. It is by your request that we see the wide array of beings that we do, and we can also see where we connect in other spaces and other times and spaces together. Arya is a child which has come through in connection with the person who has made this request for this rendering. And she is also very clearly to me connected with Quinn and coming from that family of beings. Now, I'm sorry, Isla is brown-eyed and olive-skinned, just like Quinn. And Alame is light-skinned and light-eyed, but coming from the same array of beings, the same family, the same, I don't know, species, but maybe cross species, maybe hybrid with them. I'm not sure. One day I will have more time to connect more with the independent beings and gather more information. One day I may even open myself to channel information on them, perhaps even directly themselves. So we'll have to wait and see. I do feel like there's a new leg of this whole process beginning to open and flower out for us. I still can't see exactly what it is. I'm standing too close to it, but I feel that in beginning here and introducing the beings to you in this video format one by one, more will begin to come through. So perhaps this is the rhyme and reason behind this whole thing happening. So Alame. And I think that's all of the frames I brought here today in connection with the specific being that we're meeting, which is Quinn. I'll just let you gaze at him for a moment and see if you can connect and pick up on anything yourself. Today we've met Quinn. It's January 27, 2025. And again, just going way back and starting from the beginning, I'll begin bringing forward more of the beings, beginning very likely was somewhere near the next being who began coming through, following Quinn and this whole family of beings.